Hey, light fixers. Hope you're having an awesome day. Today, we've got something really interesting and really different, something I've never heard about, and I am completely clueless. Something called brain rebooting. I don't know what it is. I didn't want to do a lot of research so I could come in together with this and you and ask questions that you might have. But I'm really super curious to hear, and I think you will actually enjoy it and like what David has to say. So thank you so much, David, for being here. I'm excited to be speaking with you. You want to start by telling us something you did as a kid that your parents laugh about till today?
Trying to steal the car, probably when I was a teenager at night.
How many
the conversation during family time, so that's for sure one. I have to confess. I mean, it's didn't last long until I got caught, for sure.
Ooh, what happened there? You want to tell us a little bit of the story?
Oh man, how much can I confess? Essentially, a bunch of friends wanting to get together. Summertime, people are out, summer break, and 16 years old, didn't get my license just yet, and wanted to pretty much joyride around LA, which is where I grew up, Los Angeles at the time. So nothing too crazy or outlandish, but drove all over LA, I'll tell you that much. It's huge. I mean, it takes a long time to learn.
Oh, okay. Did you get in massive trouble, like grounded for 3 weeks or something?
I did, yeah. Lots of car washing. They memorized the miles from now on. So yeah, it was Ferris Bueller kind of Ferrari borrowing style.
Okay, so now, like after that, you were a good boy. Didn't try again.
I was pretty good. I was pretty good.
Yeah, I can imagine you're such a bad guy.
Thanks for asking.
Okay, so you do brain rebooting. What's that exactly? You want to share with us a little bit?
Well, to confess, I pretty much got on this type of journey 24. So really good age to kind of find oneself, so to speak. And living in LA, there's a lot of natural, holistic, alternative, lots of different kinds of things come from California and so forth. So I've been kind of on a journey of finding stress release and just experiencing different kinds of, yoga is a big popular thing, but it wasn't for a long time. Same with acupuncture and the like. And I've run into some guys that I rode motorcycles with at the time and pretty much caught my curiosity about it. And I would attend and I experienced this process and learned from them and pretty much just went from there. I mean, it is a hands-on process. So, if you're thinking brain reboot and you're thinking like some sort of computer or you plug it into the wall or socket, it's not the case. So it's been a journey all unto itself. I wish it was more popular, more well-known because it's an incredible process, extremely well needed in this day and age. And so one of the steps really is just for me to continuously go out and, rehash the story, let people know that something like this exists in the physical form. So you can't do this to yourself. You need someone to facilitate this hands-on experience.
Okay, so walk us through a process. If I come to you because I want my brain to be rebooted, if that's a word.
Right. Yeah.
What does it look like?
The first thing, most people come in for some sort of ailments and issues. Most of the time, a good communication or inspiration is pain. So this is not designed to get you out of pain, even though pain is a good motivator. So it's normally word of mouth, or if someone meets me, they're at that moment in time, they're stressed enough to be open to try something new and experience it. So if you were to come and I normally ask you, what are you looking to seek through this process? What have you tried? What is the end result? What's the solution you're trying to accomplish? And then I pretty much explain to you that the way we interpret and experience stress, there's an actual physiological process that takes place. That's one part. There's other parts, spiritually and so forth, emotionally. But on the physical, you have 2 brain hemispheres, okay, and split right down the middle. So there's this bridge that links these 2 hemispheres. Each hemisphere controls the opposite side of the body. So if you imagine right brain controls the left side of your body, left brain, vice versa. When you experience stress, like a holy cow moment, on your cell phone, driving a car, almost colliding with the car in front of you, slipping down some stairs and almost slipping, but you catch yourself, or someone hostile that you're just not prepared for. And all of a sudden it's like an, oh my God moment. There's a lot of changes that takes place. So that's fight or flight. So what you're supposed to do with that fight or flight is to fight or flee. The thing is that in this day and age, that's not highly recommended. You don't normally want to fight, and the option indeed is to flee. We don't do those, we stuff it. Okay. So we go into kind of like a holy cow holding moment. So instead of the body experiencing this 20 minutes of the getting out of the situation, what we do is we actually stay in this on guard mode. The thing that happens is that one side of the brain slows down, the other side speeds up. And when it happens very, very quickly. One side of the body, the muscles goes weak, and then the other side contracts and tightens up. So if you've ever watched a boxer, they're off, on one side, okay? That again is a fight or flight, which is not supposed to last longer than about 20 to 30 minutes. So the problem is that we're all a frog in room temperature water. Feels great, okay? Not a substantial temperature difference. And if the heat is turned on, the frog will actually stay in the water trying to endure, trying to handle it up to a certain point. The problem is that by the time it tries to jump out because it can't deal with it anymore, it's run all of its life energy out. It's all of its adrenals are shot. So you're going to have frog legs for dinner. It cooks, which is what's going on for everybody. So almost everybody, we're just on a simmer and we don't know how to get out. Okay. So it's like an elephant in the room. We know the elephant is in the room. Sometimes it gets larger, sometimes it gets smaller. But we're all just trying to deal in life with this energy, with this elephant in the room. The process I do allows your brain to reset or reboot because you're electrical. You are energetic, okay? You're like a battery. You have to recharge, you discharge, all of the above. So the brain uses its life energy, its life force for a myriad of things, but there's mainly two. One is that you're in great homeostasis and operating the way you're supposed to, or you're in protective survival mode. The problem is that the protective survival mode stays on in the background all the time. And over time, that will prematurely wear us out. Okay, so it's like holding a 5-pound dumbbell. The 5 pounds does not weigh a substantial amount. You're not going to notice a significant amount. But if you carry that 5 pounds over and over and over all the time, ongoing, especially on one side, or you switch it to the other, you're going to start to notice that there's a lingering issue to that. The alignment I do, the brain reboot that I do, gives your system the opportunity to recognize it doesn't have to hold on to those 5 pounds, and it can then let go. So I'm not fixing or correcting or adjusting or curing anything. What I'm doing is helping you use your life force, your life energy in a more appropriate fashion instead of being stuck in a out of reactive, what's going to happen, prepared for battle mode. So we're just freeing up your own life source, your life energy. Now,
that's
go ahead.
Really interesting. So just go back a bit to the two hemispheres and now one side just slows down and one side goes up. Is it possible that you could actually feel it in your body, leaning towards one side?
Very much so. If you use your body in any capacity, some people are more sensitive than others. Everybody's lifestyle is different. For example, okay, it's all about stimulation. All right. You are an antenna in the middle of a city and you are gathering all this information and data passing through the ethers. And it's not specific. It's not intense, but it's an ongoing. Okay. So for example, if you have a lot of stimulation, caffeine in the morning, right? Got to get that upper, tea or whatnot. People find ways of trying to get that down a little bit more mellow, alcohol in the evening or whatnot, watching a movie, just try to detense, relax. The thing is that the brain is constantly getting all these stimulations. When that happens, your body continuously stays in this imbalance, tight on one side, weak on the other. And then you have this imbalance throughout your whole entire system. So to answer your question, in the morning, you're more calm, grounded, and destimulated because of the sleep that you have had. Your body had a chance to turn off all those stress signals from the day before. At the end of the day, that's where you really get a chance to see that you're more out of balance. And you can see that one leg is shorter than the other by sitting down on the floor, putting your feet in front of you. You'll see that one leg will appear shorter than the other. It's not bone shortness. It's because one side of the body is more tight and contracted because one side of the brain is more stimulated and active. So examples to show how electromagnetic frequencies, right? So phones, these light bulbs, they run at 60 cycles, okay? So your brain is supposed to operate in an alpha state, like an idle of a car, okay? And that's between 7 and 14 cycles per second. So it's like a nice smooth jog, if you will, okay? The downfall is that if you start speeding up, running, you can sustain it for a certain amount of time, but you're wearing yourself out a lot faster. So it's not good to be around all this electromagnetic frequency, especially before going to bed. Computers have blue light, television, cell phones have blue light. That's very stimulating to the system. If you do that day in and day out, you're a little bit more holding of stimulation active than necessary, if that makes sense. So it's all about getting grounded and destimulating, and that's a lifestyle. That's the goal, the recommendation. The alignment, the brain reboot, if someone is very introverted, they're very, very collected, they're a little cautious. What's interesting to see is that after that, they become a lot more available, accessible, social. They're not as guarded and trying to figure out and assess the room. Someone who's actually very gregarious, outspoken, they can oftentimes come back down. So they come out of this whatever compensatory imbalance thing that we need to do, thinking that's what we need to do to operate in the world. So you become a lot more calm, grounded, congruent in yourself. You don't have to work as hard to try and be something and do something. It's just a lot less.
Yeah. So it's like, before we get to lifestyle, which I want to ask you for some like tips on that, but what do you actually do during the reboot?
Fair. Okay. You lay on your back. I cradle your head in my arms, and it's an upward extension. It's an upward movement. Okay. It's not a twist of the neck. It's not a repositioning of your bones or your vertebra. So it's not a chiropractic element. We just found that there's this reboot effect right back here. That's where all the nervous system wise is where it's developed first. So it's this gentle stretch of the head in a very unique way, safe, that allows there to be a pattern interrupt. Okay. And allows the brain to just come out of that mode. So it takes 15 seconds to do. It's incredibly fast. I mean, it's not like Reiki where it's a beautiful hour-long session. Close your eyes and just kind of feel the energy. This is different. It's like turning on a light switch. The light switch is on. Now your whole system has the opportunity of putting everything back into place that it knows where it wanted to go. Okay,
yeah. So, now, how long does that last for? Like, how often does a person have to get rebooted?
The recommendation, you hold this alignment in this day and age about 72 hours, give or take. Okay. And we test that by someone, let's say, coming in on Friday. We give them that reboot, the alignment, and then they come back by Monday to see if they're holding the alignment, which means that legs are even, hips level, strength is equal on both sides, indicating that both of the sides of your brain, the hemispheres, are communicating with each other once again. And that's the goal. 2 to 3 times a week at the beginning, within about a dozen to 20 sessions, give or take, is right around the area that people have a chance to dig themselves out of this rat race hole. And then we start to stretch these sessions out as far as possible. And I haven't really seen anybody hold this alignment for longer than about 10 to 14 days. Now, how you feel and what you're thinking and how your body's expressing this balance is different. So some people say, well, I don't have any pain or any discomfort. I feel fine. And then sometimes through the sessions, things will actually come back up to resurface, which is why we recommend that people at the beginning come in to get these corrective changes, much like changing your diet. You can't, or go into the gym if you haven't gone for a long time. It's important to get yourself into a regimen because you're creating new neural pathways in your brain. And then all of a sudden it gets a lot easier, and you'll actually start noticing when you're coming out of alignment. You'll start noticing the difference. So my goal is actually to get you off of this crutch, to get you off of coming in. But there's no trophy at the end of this race. There's no 30 sessions, you did great, gold star, never see you again. I mean, it's a lifestyle. Okay, it's a wanting to operate in this much clearer, more balanced, congruent state of being.
So just curious, like, about how often do you find yourself personally having to get, rebooted?
My wife is a good example of that. So It depends on what kind of stress, changes, challenges. We moved here about 6 months ago. So we've been here in Middle Tennessee area for about 6 months. Absolutely love it. But if the weather changes, our routine is different, trying to learn the area, all these things are new changes and challenges. So your stress level is going to be a little bit higher than someone, let's say, who's retired, right? Who can play in the garden, can wake up at any time that they want, that they have the routine down. So there's not so much stimulation, changes and challenges and tasks that are on them. Even falling in love, making more money, the weather improving. These are good stresses. Okay, it's you stress. This is good stuff, but your body doesn't care. It's just changes, stimulations, and challenges. And so the more you have of that, your body will want to favor going back into this fight or flight imbalanced pose. Not a bad thing, but again, there is another way of functioning.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go into the lifestyle a little bit. What are some lifestyle recommendations that you have?
There's a lot. Okay, so one would be if you are a car and you have yourself the interest of choosing what type of gasoline you put in your car. So nutrition is the same as if you being your vehicle. In a nutshell, I do recommend reducing sugar as much as possible in regard to that subject. Okay. Another one would be to regulate on how much use your cell phone, your TV activity would be. You want to use your body so it doesn't rust. So the best thing to do is some sort of vigorous 20-minute exercise per day would be ideal. Okay. A sprint.
20 minutes the whole day or in 20-minute segments?
Yeah, you want to really do like a 20-minute, like extreme type of workout. And then you could use your body the rest of the way. I mean, your body actually likes to be used. It's when it sits around doing nothing, looking down at your cell phone, that again, if you do that on a regular basis, that'll catch up to you over time.
Now, does it make a difference if, let's say, you do it in the morning when your body is like more regulated versus at night, or does it make a difference?
Not in the big scheme of things, because it can also depend on what kind of lifestyle you are, okay, or that you have. If anything at all, some people like to jump right out of bed and get a cup of coffee going. One thing, for example, like with the shower, I'm not much for cold showers. I know Wim Hof is a really popular thing to take, like cold showers or whatnot. Phenomenal. I completely support it. Take a warm shower to start. By the end of the shower, it should be cold. Okay, so that does a lot to your system, that beyond what I could explain. But those are helpful tasks to do within a lifetime. The other thing also would be try and empty your brain.
Sorry to interrupt you on that one, but I'm just thinking someone who doesn't know much about it is going to think that like shocks your system, no?
Sometimes the shock is excellent because it's the same as like, a good cry. If you haven't had one for a while, okay, a very good energetic release, because we're holding, and the holding, it builds over time and it doesn't extinguish as fast as it builds up. So a great laugh, again, just something to really like get yourself extinguished in a very deliberate way, short and deliberate. And then the rest of the time, your body operates a lot better because it comes back to a more grounded state. You want to get out of your head as much as you can. It's the heart and the brain that are constantly at a battle with one another. The heart was developed before the brain. The brain has no vision, the heart does. But the brain has a lot of, hey, remember that bad experience you had in the past? You remember that feeling? You don't want to do that now, do you? So there's a protective area that it does. And your intuitive, your heart sensed feeling of it oftentimes doesn't have the support to move forward. When the brain slows down, meditation, yoga, was it ASMR, AMSR, anything to destimulate, then your body, you're more grounded. You tend to function in a more intuitive fashion. Okay. So that's anxiety and depression is that psychological process of people going up in that 60 cycle second and just going all over. They get excited about everything. And then there's the compensation, which is the crash, which is very addictive too, by the way. So we're actually more addicted to the crash than the up.
Why is that?
Suffering in general is more addictive than anything else. Emotional eating, I mean, it's fun to do, but again, it's to compensate for something. Sometimes it's nice to complain, whine, bitch, moan about things because we want attention. We want to be seen. So there's that wantingness, that desire. So we're very tricky people in what we do. the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but the functioning, quiet, calm, grounded, steady paced people, they don't get the attention. You don't see them too often. But they're the functional beings that are out there.
Yeah, that's for sure. How would you describe your life now to when it was before you learned all about this?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm almost 40. I've been doing this for close to 15 years. So I've been doing this for a long time. I've seen a lot of people and their process and things. I would say, there's a lot more to learn. Anybody who's older, when they give wisdom, when they give advice, I tend to listen to them and remember what they say more so than, let's say, than when I was 24, 25. You go through different changes as you go on. So one thing I'd have to say would just be making clear choices and sticking to it, being open to receiving feedback. It's much easier that way, and be willing to make mistakes and learn from it and make new choices. I find that to be some really good pieces of advice that I learned along the way.
Yeah. It comes from a nice, good growth mindset. At what point did you meet your wife? And I'm curious to hear, what's her perspective on this whole thing?
I met my wife about a decade ago. So I was 30 and just got out of a relationship that ended its course, fortunately, because then once she showed up, she was a client. And so she would come in doing sessions, treated her just like a client. And as time went on, it was a slow pace, which was absolutely perfect for what I was asking for and for herself. And she's been a lot more open to it. She has a lot of stress in her life. So there must be some reason as to why we got together. And but it works. It works great. The communication is wonderful. I would have to say this has helped relationships in so many ways because there's less ego involved. There's more openness to communicate about what's going on for yourself. It's easier to listen to the other person when they're sharing what's going on for them instead of trying to fix it so quickly or whatnot. So there's more breadth in the space for conversation among two people. You start trusting what you're feeling more and instead of getting reactive and defensive, that goes away, and you find actually you have to do less. That's probably one of the most wonderful things that I've experienced in this process, doing it and receiving it.
Yeah. Okay. So before we get to our final question about relationships and just the effect of it, where could Life Pixers connect with you and learn more about you?
I'm located in Franklin, Tennessee, which is just south of Nashville. It's growing like crazy here. Have table, will travel. So I'm capable of doing it from place to place. You could find me on brainbalancestudio.com. You could also track me down on Instagram at Balance with Bransky. It's Bransky with a Y. And email, easy to find, David at brainbalancestudio.com.
Amazing. Okay. So final question. How would you describe an extraordinary relationship without using love, trust, or connection?
Ask me that question again.
I know I asked such confusing questions. How would you describe an extraordinary relationship without using?
I don't know. You're going to have to find the answer for that and then let me know how that goes. That's a tough one. That's tough. I could not answer that one. I think someone else has got a better answer than what I could give.
Okay. It's an answer to, it gets asked at the end of every episode. So if you want to answer, to go back to all the episodes and just hear how everybody has such different answers is actually really interesting to see. It shows a lot about, I guess, a person's personality and their lifestyle and how they view relationships.
I should have done that.
Then you would be able to list 100 answers because you just pick everyone else's. But I really enjoyed speaking to you today, David. Thank you for coming on here.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for doing what you do. Really appreciate it.
That's all for this episode of the Life Fix University podcast, but I have a huge favor to ask of you that will not only support the show, but will also help the people you love most. We are striving for 1 million downloads by the end of 2025, and we can't do this without your help. If you love this episode, please share it with 2 of your family and friends so they too can rewire their brains to have an extraordinary marriage. It was awesome spending time with you, and I'll see you on the next episode.